Friday, January 12th, 2024, and somebody must have kept Amy Alyssa Farrah Griffin away from the caffeine this morning because she was definitely subdued compared to yesterday. But it didn't stop her from frothing at the mouth again about the first hot topic, which is Trump did actually end up talking at his trial yesterday, the fraud trial, um, for like 5 minutes before the judge cut him off. But it his usual same old bullshit. And then he had spoke in front of the press over and over again. Usual same fucking bullshit, just lies. And you know, the immunity. Thank God, finally, someone. Sarah was like, so if he's mad about the this whole political witch hunt, isn't doesn't Joe Biden have immunity from that? If in your rationale, um, Orange Toddler, if the president should have full immunity, then the president can do whatever the president wants. Too bad for you right now, then, right? Isn't that the way it works, or is it just full immunity for you? Um, Yeah, and they talked about how it's never come up before because we didn't have such a monumental criminal running the country, or at least not as careless of one. Um, they may have been criminal, but didn't get caught. And that's the biggest thing, is that he's so stupid he just keeps getting caught. Um, so yeah, and in that process, Amy Alyssa Farrah Griffin, just gleefully makes the point that if he's going to be the nominee, and he's got all these trials coming up, and then it's still because Joe Biden is such a poor candidate. It shouldn't be such a horse race because of all these court cases. But you're using a current metric to uh, to describe a future situation when there's going to be a lot more information as those trials come up, and hopefully uh, they start darn soon. As more of the evidence comes out about his guilt, specifically in the Georgia case, because I don't know if anything's going to sway anybody on the January 6th side of things. I don't know who feels like they're in the middle on that one. But if there are anybody who feel anybody who feels like they're in the middle, getting more evidence and more people from his camp to say all the things that he did wrong, it is probably going to change some minds. Whether or not it changes the polls is another thing, because it doesn't. Who knows who they're asking these questions to, or how they're phrasing them. And so, when we get to the conventions and the end of summer and the beginning of fall and closer to the election, and he's in more and more heaped on trouble, and there's been more and more evidence um, showing that he's blatantly guilty of these things. I think some people might have, a change of heart about whether or not they'd be okay with letting him back in the White House. So don't go, jumping on your current metric to discuss a future situation when we don't know what is going to happen between now and then. Biden's not doing himself any service with everything that's going on in the Middle East. And the next hot topic is such a giant blunder. Um, the Secretary of Defense, I don't know, I forget what his title is. But you can't go in the hospital and not tell your boss. Like, I 100% disagree with Anna. He's under no obligation to tell the public. He's under no obligation to become a spokesperson for prostate cancer and prostate cancer health, and that is beyond the pale. He has no obligation to do any of that. He does need to let his supervisor, the president, know um, that he'll be in the hospital. And I don't know how much of what was actually told. There was at some point, because I read about it, a deputy that was sworn in to take his place. So there wasn't, like, while he was having surgery, there was someone else in charge. Um, and I remember reading that she said she didn't know that he was undergoing surgery while she was, deputized to the position. Um, And so, I don't like all like the sort of bang on him, but it's such a stupid mistake, and it makes it so easy for the Republicans to froth at the mouth and point something out. They do enough making shit up that they get their base to believe we don't need to give them things to tell their base to give them another reason to hate Biden. Um, or why this administration is weak. That's pretty poor. And the problem is, we will then admit, yeah, our guy made a mistake. That wasn't great. On their side, they'd be like, well, he has every right to do whatever he wants. He's in charge of the military, and he can. That made me laugh. So they'll just double down and say they're allowed to do it, and we actually admit when we have faults, though that's um, the right thing to do, but it just makes it more difficult to fight the fight against them. Um, and I don't usually like talking about the guests, but I gotta say, I saw Naiad a while ago, and I hated it. She seemed like a monumentally unpleasant person. Um, I get it, extreme athlete, super endurance, all that kind of, and it's like so an intense person. Um, yeah, I don't need that much intensity. I just was like, just finish your fucking swim, you miserable lady. Anyway, I mean, she was good in it. She did a job. She made me really not like her. I'm sure if I met Diana Nyad in person, she'd be lovely at a cocktail party. Or maybe not. Maybe she'd be that annoying guest who just won't, shut up, talking your ear off and cornering you and, asking too many personal questions or just constantly telling stories about her glory days. Anyway, exhausting. So that's it. We're off for the weekend, and I think it's a holiday. I don't know. It's hard to tell what happens day to day when you're unemployed.